The National Hot Rod Association presents Championship Drag Racing on ESPN Speed World. The NHRA, the world's largest motorsport sanctioning body, showcasing speeds in excess of 290 miles an hour and traveling the quarter mile in less than 5 seconds. Championship Drag Racing from the NHRA. The Winston Championship Series stretches from coast to coast all across America. The 18 national events attract hundreds of drivers competing for the annual $18 million in prize money. The second and most recent stop on the tour was Firebird Raceway in Phoenix, Arizona, where problems became immediately apparent. No, it wasn't rain, it was lane. The newly laid concrete starting pad in the left lane began to deteriorate rapidly under the pressure of racing, so the race was postponed for a week while repairs were made. When the event convened the following weekend, who should step up but Kenny Bernstein, winning his first ever event in a top fuel dragster when Craig Smith could not get his car into reverse after his burnout. Bernstein had a single to the victory. In funny car, there was another first-time winner. Veteran pilot Jim White, driving Roland Leong's Hawaiian, bested the #1 qualifier and defending Winston champion John Force for the Arizona Nationals title. In the final round confrontation, White ran a great 5:30 elapsed time to Force's 5:40. Then in Pro Stock, Darrell Alderman streaked to his second event victory in as many races. It wasn't easy as a quick Warren Johnson beat Alderman off the line, forcing Darrell to play catch-up. Alderman won the race by a margin of victory of 1/1000th of a second. It was close. So now the scene shifts eastward to the oil country of the Houston, Texas area for the third event on the NHRA Tour, the 4th annual NHRA Fram Supernationals. Hello, everybody. I'm Dave McClelland, and welcome to Houston Raceway Park near Baytown, Texas. Since the Fram Supernationals began a few days ago, we've had considerable changes in the weather, from rain and damp conditions at the start through temperatures in the 80s on Friday till this morning when a norther blew through, bringing with it temperatures in the 40s and 50s and wind gusts up to 30 miles an hour. The sun's come out now, but it's still windy. It is cool, and that makes for ideal racing conditions. There's been lots of action already in round #1. And for the details, here's my good friend and 3-time Winston champ, Big Daddy Don Garlitz.
Thank you, Dave. The story here at the Supernationals after round 1 is this car. The driver, Kenny Bernstein, he has not stopped rolling since the Arizona Nationals. He qualified #2 with a 494. He wins the first round with a 496, and his position is even enhanced by what happened to 2 other cars. The first of the drivers to have trouble was Gary Ormsby. He came to the Supernationals, qualified great, #1 with a 493. But during the race with Doug Herbert, the car exploded the blower at the end of the racetrack. And this could give the team a lot of problems getting their tune-up back. This heavy air is really tough to deal with, isn't it, Gary?
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. It looks like it blew the blower a little, but it didn't blow it off, but something happened. It backfired on me down to there.
Yeah, we could hear it all the way down to this end. It got the burst plate, but it either floated a valve or went lean. Probably went lean.
I would imagine, yeah, that's what it looks like.
The second driver to have trouble with Joe Amato. Now, he came to the Supernationals, qualified #3 with a 495. He was looking good. That is until first round against Jim Head. tremendous engine explosion. Looked like he must have blown a head gasket. The car caught on fire. Then the crank broke and got out on the drag strip. Joe had a hard time bringing it to a safe stop. I talked with him when he got out of the car. Well, it was a big fire because we could see it real plain from way down here at the end of the drag strip, and the car just kept coming on, so we knew it must not be getting in the cockpit because you would have stopped if it's been up there.
Yeah, if I felt the heat or anything, I definitely would have stopped a lot quicker, because then I know NHRA can get right at me there. But it just felt like the blower came off the car, and that's what it sounded like from inside the car anyway.
We'll see you at the next one. In funny car, it looked like the Arizona Nationals winner, Jim White, was on a roll. He qualified #1 with a 5:23. But when he raced Chuck Etchels in the first round, the success came to an abrupt halt. The supercharger exploded halfway down the track and put him out of competition. I talked to a disappointed Jim White.
Yeah, it's real tough when you got a car that runs as hard as this one's been for the last several weeks now. We backed it up a lot this morning, was trying to make some adjustments for these conditions, but I guess maybe they got us.
With Jim White out of competition, the door is now open for John Force to make a move on the Winston points. And they did make that move. Crew Chief Austin Coyle tuned up Force's ride, and they walked straight through that door with a 5:21 low ET of the first round.
Well, I got to give the credit to Austin Coyle. He did a real good job, and it's a good racetrack here. And shook a little bit, but Coyle said drive through it. I drove through it just like he taught me. Worked.
So that's how round 1 shaped up. It's now time for round 2, so let's go to Dave McClellan.
Don, thank you. And here is Larry Miner. He's the guy that owns the race car driven by Ed McCulloch. That is the Otter Pops Oldsmobile. The body coming down after the engine being brought to life for the second round race against Mike Dunn at the wheel of E.B. Abel's Snickers Dodge Daytona. McCulloch rolls forward into a big puddle of water to begin a procedure that runs through all categories of NHRA Winston Championship drag racing. We're, of course, referring to the burnout. It is designed to heat up those huge 17-inch wide tires, get them as hot as possible to provide the maximum traction available to allow these 4,000 horsepower cars to thunder through the quarter mile. McCulloch in the near lane. He has selected that as he had the choice based upon the quicker elapsed time from the previous round. He won his first round race with a fine 5.29 second elapsed time. Mike Dunn was good, but not close at a 5:34. As they back up into the burnout, Mike Dunn in his mid-30s continues a family tradition. His dad Jim, the crew chief on that car that beat Al Hoffman in round 1. Ed McCulloch beat Gary Densham in his first round race, coming from his #3 qualifying spot, where he ran a 5:28. McCulloch has been the picture of consistency. He has had 4 consecutive runs ranging between a 5:28 and a 5:29. Now in round #2 at the Fram Supernationals, he is being challenged by Mike Dunn in the far lane. Into the final 4 goes McCulloch, and another consistent time. Look at that, 5.30 at 278 miles an hour. Dunn trailing with a 5:46. The 1991 NHRA Fram Supernationals is being brought to you by Goodyear Eagles. Goodyear, the maker of the world's most successful tires, the Goodyear Eagle. And by Ford at your local Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? More funny car action coming up next. Back at Houston Raceway Park in the Fram Supernationals, it's repair time in the Gary Ormsby pit area. The crew hard at work replacing the supercharger that exploded in round #1, getting Gary ready for his second round race where he faces Laurie Johns. Meantime, his Castrol GTX teammate John Force, the Winston champion in funny car, backing up, and with our onboard camera, you can see Austin Coyle giving the hand instructions out the front window. That tells John Force exactly where to go, where to put that race car on the track to get the most traction. His competition is a man in quest of a record. It is the driver of Joe Pisano's Oldsmobile. We're talking about Glenn Micris. Micris qualified with a 5:30 and beat Jerry Caminito in round 1. Meantime, Force qualified 4th at a 5:29. He defeated Jim Murphy, as you saw earlier in his first round race. Micris has the record awaiting a backup. 286.25 miles an hour, a new speed mark, awaiting a time within 1% to back it up. Force thunders through ahead. Micris has his record, but John Force runs a 5:27 to move into the final 4. Remember, he ran a 5:21 in his first round victory, and now a 5:27. Back at the starting line, Chuck Etchels brings to life his Kendall Oil Pontiac. Into the water box and doing the burnout. His competition is young Richard Hartman. Hartman, at the age of 23, one of the youngest drivers in this sport, earned himself lane choice in this race with Etchels by virtue of his quicker time in round number 1. Let's go to the far end and Don Garland's.
Well, John, I guess I should say Big John, because you're still the one they got to deal with. 5:27, that's still low in this round.
Come around pretty good, you know. Paisano was a little nervous on his driver, but his driver put a half a car on me on the starting line, I think. So I don't know what happened. Evidently, Micris got in trouble out there, but she motored around him, so I was okay.
See you next round.
John Force matching the consistency of Ed McCulloch, but Force just a little bit quicker on each and every run. Chuck Etchels got the break in round 1 when low qualifier Jim White broke the main shaft. That caused the supercharger explosion. Let's go to Don Garland, who's with Glenn Micris.
Well, you're the new NHRA record holder at over 286 miles an hour. You backed up that run earlier this morning.
Wow. Well, like I said, Joe's always been into speed, and obviously it's beginning to show again.
That one might be in there a while. That's pretty stout.
Yeah, we figured when we got here that we should be able to run 85, maybe 86, but she was sure trucking pretty good.
Well, you did it, and congratulations.
Thanks, Don.
Micris car owner Joe Pisano always fields one of the fastest cars on the track. Now they have the record to prove it. Richard Hartman defeated Del Worsham in round 1, and Worsham is younger than Hartman. Worsham only 21 years of age. Chuck Etchels qualified 16th with a time of 5:55. We got the break when White broke in round 1, and here he is in the second round to face off against young Hartman. Etchels in the near lane, sacrificed lane choice in that first round. Hartman has selected the lane furthest from the track. Remember, John Force ran in the lane nearest the camera, so it is obvious the lane's practically identical. Hartman smokes the tires. He's in trouble. The car nosing into the guardrail. The impact obviously splitting open the fuel tank. You see the fuel there. Hartman is fighting for control, and the car gently noses into the opposite lane guardrail. The engine is still running. Quite possibly that first impact stuck the throttle open. The NHRA safety safari crewman on the scene squirting it with a fire extinguisher. There is no apparent fire. What he's trying to do is to shut the engine off, cut the oxygen to the engine, and stop it from running. Hartman has not tried yet to get out of the car. He probably is inside pulling all the fuel shutoff levers. The safety safari now just dousing it with CO2, a gaseous compound that has no oxygen in it, but still the motor continues to run. Now they're prying into the fiberglass body up by the supercharger scoop, and as they walk away, the engine shuts itself off, and Richard Hartman exits out the roof, apparently A-OK. As we look at this incident again in replay, you can see what happened. He lost control of it as the tires lost traction. It got up on 2 wheels, actually up on the header. Nosed into that right-hand guardrail. When it came back to earth, it was leaving a trail of nitromethane fuel behind it. The rear tires still turning under power as a result of the stuck throttle. Got in the liquid. That shot him across the racetrack and into the other guardrail where he came to a stop. Let's go to Don.
Did one heck of a job there with that thing. Had your hands full.
Yeah, it took off fast on me. I don't know what happened as far as hitting the throttle. I don't know if I trying to get back in it. I thought I had it under control.
I think the reason it hit the throttle is it was up, and you're probably bracing yourself in the car. It didn't go over, but boy, it was close.
That very well could have been. I did my best. My hand came off the steering wheel at the first shot, and before it hit the wall, I got it. It hit the wall, and nothing I could do after that. I just tried to save it after that.
Well, you did, and we're sure happy to see you here and talking to us.
Thank you, Don.
While Hartman is okay, his car suffered serious damage. The crew checking it over, trying to figure out what do they have to do to get it ready for the next race in just 2 weeks.
Right here, Jim.
We'll be back. At the 4th annual Fram Supernationals at Houston Raceway Park, crewman D. Gant backing up his driver Mark Oswald. Oswald at the wheel of Bill Schultz's In-N-Out Burger special. In the lane opposite him is a former hockey official, now a drag racer. This is Ron Sutherland driving the Desert Rat. Sutherland qualified in the number 7 spot, his best time ever of 5:34, and beat Tom Hoover in round 1. Oswald, meantime, was the number 2 qualifier with a 5:27. He beat Freddie Neely in his first round race. Oswald, by virtue of a quicker time by only 0.03 of a second in round number 1, gets to pick the lane. He has selected the side nearest the camera. Sutherland apparently having some problems on the starting line, never even moved. Oswald moved and instantly went up in smoke. Well, it's not a thing of beauty, but it is a victory for Mark Oswald, and that puts him into the Final 4. He sacrificed lane choice the moment the traction problem started. For Sutherland, his difficulty is much more severe. That car never moved an inch when the tree went green. For Ron, what a disappointment, but all in all, when you consider his 5:34 in qualifying, a great effort. The pairings for the Final 4 find Ed McCulloch against Mark Oswald, McCulloch having the lane choice. The second pair sees John Force against Chuck Etchells, with Force getting to pick his lane. Down at the far end of the track, Don Garlitz is with Mark Oswald.
Well, Mark, we were all beginning to think there was no limit to the amount of power he could put down on his track, but I guess you showed us there is a limit.
Well, not really, Don. The water line broke. You know, we were pretty confident we'd make a strong run then, and they said the water line broke, and it almost had to be something like that because we pretty much softened it up from the run before.
Okay, so water got under one of the tires.
Yeah, that's what the starting line guy said.
Okay, see you next round.
Thank you.
Very fortunate for Mark Oswald that Ron Sutherland had the problems he did, or it would be Sutherland heading back to the pits instead of Oswald to get ready for the Final 4. Lori Johns in the Jolly Rancher Candies car, opening up round number 2 of Top Fuel Eliminator. Her competition, the Castrol Special of Gary Ormsby, and the big question mark here is, did the repair work pay off for Ormsby? Lori is hoping it didn't, but Gary Ormsby has total confidence in his crew chief, Lee Beard. In fact, it was Beard who did such an outstanding job of putting this team back together after Ormsby suffered a devastating blowover in testing prior to the Winter Nationals at the start of the year. Ormsby qualified number 1 with a 493, and we saw him beat Doug Herbert in round 1. Meantime, Lori Johns qualified 8th at a 5:03 and beat Pat Dakin in her first round race. Johns had the best of it elapsed time-wise in round number 1. She was nearly 4/10 quicker than Ormsby and picks her lane. But what a dramatic comeback as Lee Beard, with a smile on his face, watches Gary Ormsby go 5:07 at 282 miles an hour to beat Lori's 5:16.261. This is Corey McLenathan. Dick and Carol McLenathan's Top Fuel dragster, known as the Mac Attack, against Jim Head in one of the most sophisticated race cars ever to strike a tire on a quarter-mile track. Head, ever the innovator, using lots of aerodynamic tricks, trying to get this car to cut through the wind. Down at the far end of the track, Gary Ormsby's with Don Garlitz.
Well, Gary, you took a little bit of a starting line advantage and parlayed it into a win, 5:07. Not real good, but a lot better than that 5:45 earlier.
Well, that's for sure. You know, we heard it real bad that last run, so we had to cut her back a little bit. And looks like we might have cut her back a little bit too much.
Well, there's always next round. We'll be looking for you.
Thank you.
That 5:07 by Ormsby certainly takes the pressure off as he heads into the final four. Crew Chief Wayne Dupuy doing some adjustments for Corey McLenithan, who qualified 11th with a 5:09 and beat Don Prudhomme in his first round race. Meantime, Jim Head had a 5:11 to qualify 14th, and as you saw earlier, he defeated an engine-destroying Joe Amato in round number 1. The 5:02 victory by Head in the first round, one of his quickest times ever, earned him lane choice. A tremendous race, and Jim Head runs his first ever 4-second elapsed time of 4:99 at 2:73. McLenithan close, but behind at a 5:07. In the pit area in Chuck Etchell's camp, the news is bad and worse. The bad news is they've got to change an engine, messing up their combination. The worst news is he's got to race John Force in the final four coming up shortly. We're at Houston Raceway Park in the Fram Supernationals. I'm Dave McClelland along with drag racing legend Don Garlett, and we're into round number 2 of Top Fuel Eliminator. Kenny Bernstein racing against Tom McEwen. McEwen making his return to the sport at the wheel of Jack Clark's Mobil 1 Special. The Mongoose, noted for his championships in the Corvette funny car, over the past couple of years has been campaigning the ultimate exhibition car, the world's fastest 57 Chevy Bel Air. He qualified 10th with a 5:06, and McEwen ran his first ever four, a 4:99 to beat Dick Lay in round 1. Meantime, Bernstein qualified number 2 with a 4:94, and he beat Doug Foxworth in round 1 with a 4:96. That gave the Budweiser King the lane choice, and he moves to the side of the racetrack nearest our camera. As Don told us at the top of our program, Kenny Bernstein is on a roll, winning just a week ago in Phoenix. Kenny Bernstein advances to the final four. A puff of smoke coming out of the engine right about the finish line. Maybe some problems, but not in his elapsed time of 4:94 at 2:85. McEwen had another 4:99, but he was trailing by about a car length. Here's the snowman. Gene Snow, runner-up here in Houston just 1 year ago. He's been running well at this event. He qualified number 4. Another of our 4-second cars here at the Fram Supernationals with a 4:98. Snow and his burnout. See those tires grow? They increase in height some 6 to 10 inches, and the drivers and crew chiefs count on that happening in the light. That growth is created by the centrifugal force of the tires spinning. And the effect is a gear change at top speed for these dragsters at over 290 miles an hour. As Snow and his competition Frank Hawley back up, let's go down to the far end of the racetrack where Don Garlett is with Kenny Bernstein.
Well, Kenny, I guess congratulations and condolences are all in order in the same breath. We got a nice win at 4:94, but we got a dead player.
Oh, she's a dead player, Big. You're right. It put the rod right out the side. Right when I was getting ready to step off of it right at the finish line, it just exploded it.
You needed that 4:94. McEwen had a 4:99 in the other lane. Did you ever see him?
Never saw him, but in these cars, you sit so low in them with the sides up, it's hard to see out around them. If you see them, they're way out in front of you.
Well, we're going to let you go. You know, got a lot of work to do.
Thanks, Big.
A rather subdued Kenny Bernstein for good reason, and we'll keep an eye on that camp and bring you up to date on the engine repairs. A final adjustment to the motor in Gene Snow's car as he comes forward to stage against Hawley. Snow had a great 4:96 in his first round victory over Frank Bradley, coming out of his number 4 qualifying spot. Meantime, Frank Hawley qualified 5th with a 5:01. He ran 5:03 as he beat very popular Texan Eddie Hill in round number 1. This is Darrell Gwynn's race car, the Coors Light Silver Bullet, driven by Frank Hawley. While Frank may have lost lane choice as a result of a slower ET in round number 1, apparently he's not going to make a lot of difference. We just watched Tom McEwen run 4:99 over on that side of the track. This is one tremendous race, and Gene Snow wins it. 5:02 at 279. Hawley 5:03 at 281 miles an hour. Tremendous race, both off the starting line, where Gene Snow got an advantage of just a few thousandths of a second Hawley was not about ready to be left behind as he made his move in the middle of the course, pulled up alongside Snow, and then they battled it out until the finish line, where Gene Snow came in the victor by a margin of victory of only 15 thousandths of a second. Gene Snow will race Gary Ormsby in the Final Four, with Snow picking his lane, while Kenny Bernstein races Jim Head. And Bernstein has the lane choice there, but remember, they're replacing an engine. Don?
Well, you disposed of Hawley quite handily, 5:02, and now the next one is Ormsby. What are you going to do with him?
Well, I don't know. I was hoping to run better than that. They'll probably get lane choice, but I'm just glad to be here. This is the first time we've been anything but first round, so we're glad to be here.
You have lane choice.
Oh, do I really? All right, great. Maybe we run another 4.
Well, you're going to need it, probably.
I think so. Thank you.
If anybody is capable of it, it's Gene Snow as he heads back to the pits to get ready. Awaiting at the starting line, the team driver for Warren Johnson. This is Scott Jeffrey on the Final Four of Pro Stock. Next. The crew on Mark Oswald's Oldsmobile getting it ready for the Final Four. Remember, this is somewhat untested in eliminations. He broke a water line in the previous round. That caused tire smoke. He won the race, but not a great elapsed time. He'll need one. He faces Ed McCulloch, who ran 5:30. Pro Stock eliminator Don Beverly at the wheel of his Oldsmobile Cutlass. He is in the far lane. He lost lane choice to Scott Jeffrey on, driving Warren Johnson's AC Delco Oldsmobile. These Pro Stock cars, 500 cubic inch maximum displacement on the engine, 2 4-barrel carburetors. They run on racing pump gasoline, and they are limited to 2,350 pounds with the driver on board. These highly sophisticated race cars capable of speeds over 190 miles an hour. Jeffrey on qualified in the number 5 spot at a 7:28. He beat Jerry Haas and Bob Glidden in the previous rounds. Beverly qualified 9th with a 7.30. He defeated Joe Lapone and Jim Yates in rounds 1 and 2. The 2 Oldsmobiles, their burnouts completed. Now staging oh so carefully. Chief Starter Buster Couch says, bring them to the line. Close race with Jeffrey on the winner. He goes into his first ever final round appearance. And it looks like Jeffrey On's not going to pull the chute. He's going to use all the track. Don will have to catch up with him. Here, as we look in replay, you can see a very slight advantage gained by Beverly in the far lane. But the power of the AC Delco Oldsmobile driven by Jeffrey on moves him up alongside of Beverly by half track. And then as they neared the finish line, he pulled ahead until his margin of victory was only 12 thousandths of a second. As you can see, just about a foot and a half. The next pair in the Final Four, Pitts Dodge versus Chevrolet. In the far lane, Darrell Alderman. In the near lane, in the Super Shops, Beretta. Out of the team of Rare and Morrison comes Bruce Allen. Bruce is having one of his better weekends. The performance of the Beretta has been in the mid-720s, the quickest he's run in quite some time. For Darrell Alderman at the wheel of the Mopar Parts Dodge Daytona, he's taking us for a ride, literally and figuratively. Alderman qualified number 2 at a 7:25. He beat Frank Iaconio and Mark Powick with a 7:20 in round 2. Meantime, Bruce Allen from his number 11 qualifying spot at 7:31 beat Jerry Ekman and Ricky Smith in rounds 1 and 2. Darrell Alderman has put his Dodge in the far lane. That has yielded thus far the quick ET of Pro Stock Racing. Riding with Alderman. And across the finish line by more than a car length, Darrell Alderman runs 7:21 at over 190 miles an hour with us on board. Meantime, way down the racetrack, Don Garlitz is with Alderman's final round opponent, Scott Jeffrey on.
Well, you had a 7:23. You don't get lane choice, but 7:21 and 7:23 in Pro Stock racing is real close.
It's going to all be in the tree, you know. It's unbelievable just to be in this situation. Before I go any further, I love my mom and dad, and I want to thank them, and I've never done it, and I really mean that. Without them, I would never have been here, and I really mean that. I thanked the Johnson crew the last time, and I'm thanking mom and dad this time. I love you guys.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Scott Jeffrey on has got to cope not only with the pressure of his first ever final round appearance, it's who he's racing. Darrell Alderman, winner of the last 2 events, and the Winston champion and Alderman has lane choice. More racing from the Fram Supernationals coming up next. As predicted, it's R&R time in the Bernstein camp. Not rest and relaxation, but remove and replace the engine. Remember, Kenny said it blew a rod out the side of it as he shut it off in the previous round. Well, they've got a brand new bullet in there for the final four of Top Fuel. Right now on the starting line, Crew Chief Bernie Federley backing his driver Ed McCulloch and that Oldsmobile-bodied machine into its own tracks to get ready to challenge Mark Oswald in the final four of Funny Car Eliminator. Using drivetrains and engines very similar to their Top Fuel counterparts, these funny cars produce some 4,000 horsepower out of their nitro-burning engines. Let me take a moment to invite you to become a member of a very special organization, the National Hot Rod Association. For $45 a year, you get 48 issues of National Dragster, a patch, pin, rule book, and more. And if you order by calling the number on your screen, you'll get a free copy of Diamond P's home video Drag Racing 90. Call today. A final check of the cars by the crews, a wave to the driver, and now it is up to the man sitting inside those fiberglass-bodied creations. On the far side, Mark Oswald. In the other lane, Ed McCulloch. Instantly, Oswald up in smoke. McCulloch into his first final round appearance of the year. His elapsed time, 5.40 at 276, falling off by a full 1/10 of a second. Remember, McCulloch had been the picture of consistency for Mark Oswald. What a disappointment. After finally the car running in the 520s to go up in smoke in the final four, that's a tough break. We're riding with John Force. The crowd-pleasing burnouts of Force in his Oldsmobile duplicated by Chuck Etchells in his Pontiac. Remember, Etchells replaced an engine before this round. The question always is, will the combination be there to get the quick performance necessary to win? It better be a good one because Force ran 5:27 in the previous round. That earned him lane choice. Let's go to Don.
Ed, she fell off a little, 540. A little concerned here.
Well, the thing, last two rounds, it spun the tire pretty hard up there, leaving the starting line that time. Round before it spun the tire, that's why it slowed down. So, you know, we're trying to get after it. Now it's starting to spin the tire, so we'll have to regroup a little bit.
And have to get after that clutch.
Well, that's the secret to this whole thing. You know that.
See you in the final.
Okay, thank you, Don.
If Ed McCulloch has any hopes for lane choice in the final, he can only pray for a problem to set in for either John Force, who we're riding with, or his competition, Chuck Etchells. As you can see, the shadows lengthening over Houston Raceway Park. It's getting late in the day, and we're in the final four of Funny Car. This is the last pair. The winner here advances to race McCulloch in the final round. Etchells with a valiant try, but not even close as John Force, look at the time, 5:22, 270 miles an hour by 0.18 of a second. He gets to pick the lane over Ed McCulloch in the championship round of the Fram Supernationals. We'll be coming right back to Houston Raceway Park, the final four in Top Fuel. Four Top Fuel dragsters remain in the single elimination tournament that is Winston Championship Drag Racing. This is Gene Snow. His competitor in this final four matchup is Gary Ormsby. Quickly before that race, let's go to the far end of the track and Don Garland.
I tell you, the awesome power and consistency of this car is mind-boggling. 522. I mean, it just runs like it's on a string.
Well, you're right. Not mind-boggling. I mean, I expect that out of Coyle and this crew, but I'm a little amazed about myself because you keep telling me these big numbers, Don, every time I get out, and I just don't feel it. It's too good of a ride, and I mean, I was hoping to hang on to anything under a 40 to get that lane choice from McCulloch, but at 22, I'm so amazed, I can't even get excited about it.
Going to be a great final, John.
Don, why do I find that hard to believe? John Force not getting excited. Gary Ormsby, after 6 wins and 8 final round appearances last season, having a rather slow start this year. Gene Snow aiming for his second final round appearance in a row. Oh, so close at the finish line, and it is Gene Snow. Elapsed time 4:99 and 2:74 for Gary Ormsby, 5:02 at 2:78. The replay shows us Ormsby in the far lane getting a very slight advantage at the start. But it was a better performance over the entire quarter mile that gained Gene Snow this victory. As they neared the finish line, it was close. But Snow in the near lane pulled ahead until he had a margin of victory of 14 thousandths of a second.
Well, you really came into this race strong, qualified #1, but you had a little bit of trouble, and performance kind of fell off, didn't it, Gary?
Yeah, it did. We heard a lot of parts, a couple runs, and we had to back everything up a little bit and kind of try to sneak up on it, and we just couldn't take a chance on blowing all our parts up, you know. This is a better performance than we've had in the last two, though, so we'll take it.
You were very consistent.
Yeah, the car leads done a good job, and we got a good ways to go. I mean, obviously he beat us, but we'll be all right. Thank you.
With his times and his driving ability, Gary Ormsby will be there throughout the run of this year. And it looks like this man will too. We're talking about Kenny Bernstein, winner at Phoenix, now with a pair of 494s, but here he comes in against Jim Head with an absolutely untested combination as he had to change engines between rounds. Head running the best times of his career, a 4:99 best, earned him the right to race Bernstein in this Final Four match. And Bernstein wins it, 4:97 at 278 miles an hour. That one's a tribute to Dale Armstrong, the crew chief, and his ability to remain consistent in his tune-up. A pair of veterans in the final, Kenny Bernstein aiming for his second win in a row, and Gene Snow making a repeat appearance in the final round of the Fram Supernationals. Meantime, in Scott Jeffreyon's pit area, the work proceeding on the Oldsmobile. The word is they have changed engines from the boss's car, Warren Johnson, into Scott Jeffreyon for the final with Alderman. Don?
Well, I don't know who to congratulate the most. You or the crew. Come back with a brand new engine, 497, got lane choice.
Well, that's good. It's the crew. They did their job. Dale and the guys work hard. They're ready to go, and they did their job, and that's what it takes. You know, as a driver, when you were there, you can't let them down either after all that hard work.
That's right.
No way, but it's good. Good run against Head, and he ran good. We'll just have to get with it now. Snow looks awful tough out there.
499, 497. This will be a really great final.
It'll be more than great. As you know, Don, when you put that sun down, it's even going to get tougher out there. So Snow's capable of running a 491 or 2. We'll have to step on it some.
Good.
Appreciate it.
We'll be right back with the finals. It's nighttime here at Houston Raceway Park, and the temperature much cooler than the previous round of the Final Four. Our two finalists, Darrell Alderman in the Dodge and Scott Jeffreyon in the Oldsmobile, could really benefit from the improved conditions. Alderman has the lane choice. He went a 7:21 in the previous round. Low ET of eliminations. The crew chief for the Johnson team. That's Kurt Johnson, the son of WJ, directing traffic for Jeffreyon. Remember, this team went through a lot of work between rounds. They put WJ's engine in Jeffreyon's car. Warren Johnson out-qualified Scott, but lost in round number 1 by way of a red light. Alderman riding the crest of 2 consecutive victories thus far, coming on the heels of his first ever Winston crown just 1 year ago. The Dodge with a 500 cubic inch wedge motor under the hood. The Oldsmobile powered by the DRCE, the drag race competition engine, available from Oldsmobile. They're set. Tremendous start for both drivers. And the quickest pro stock race of all time finds Darrell Alderman the winner, 7:19 at 189 miles an hour to a losing 7:21 for Scott Jeffreyon at 190. As we watch again, both drivers got identical reaction time. They left the starting line at precisely the same instant. Then, as they went down track, the Dodge began to inch inch its way ahead until at the finish line, the margin of victory was 24 thousandths of a second. That's what it counts up about a fender length.
Great show, 7:19.
7:19. I knew it would be close to a 7:20 because when it leaves as hard as it left in low gear a while ago and then stays hooked up in second, it's usually a good ET.
Little bird over there told me in the pits that you told somebody you was going to run a team.
Well, every race this year I've been saying I'm going to run a 22 or I'm going to run a 25, before qualifying, and I've just been doing that. I don't really know what it's going to run, and you know that. But I have to give Jeffrey on and WJ credit. They really worked hard, and it was a tough race. And I just hope that Wayne County and myself, Mopar, Dodge, all of us can keep this thing rolling.
We do too.
Thank you very much.
If it keeps on rolling, we'll find Darrell Alderman into the Winston Championship again. He's in first, WJ second, Jerry Ekman third, Tony Christian is fourth, Scott Jeffrey on fifth. John Force will race Ed McCulloch in the funny car final, coming up later. Once again, it is a battle of 4 second cars, 2 red machines squaring off in the finals of Top Fuel Eliminator at the Fram Supernationals. In the near lane with Dale Armstrong, right alongside the cockpit is Kenny Bernstein, winner at Phoenix, and certainly coming into this final round, the stronger of the 2 cars. Its competition is Gene Snow, but don't count him out. He ran a 4.99 to Bernstein's 4.97 in the final 4. That earned for Kenny the lane choice, but as we have seen practically all day long, the lanes nearly identical. A tremendous start for Bernstein and problems for Snow. Kenny wins his second race in a row. Elapsed time 4.95. Incredible performances out of Kenny Bernstein at over 291 miles an hour. Let's watch again. Bernstein was only 3 thousandths of a second off of perfect in his reaction time at the start. For Gene Snow, his problems set in before the 8th mile mark as a blower belt came off the car and Bernstein thundered across the finish line, the champion for the second week in a row. Let's go to the far end of the track and Don Garland's.
It looks to me like the Winston Top Fuel points leader is showing them the way to go. 4.95.
Oh, that's good. Dale and the guys, big, they just did their job all day long, and when they do their job, it sure makes my life a lot easier, but it's been great, and, for Budweiser and Quaker State and Mac, we really appreciate it. Means a lot.
You know you cut a 4.03 light. Now, Kenny, you and I both know there ain't nobody that quick. You better be careful.
Oh, me. Boy, I'm going to get eat out by Armstrong on that one. He's not going to like that at all. He's going to say, what'd you do, guess, or did you see it? It's great. Great for the Budweiser team today and great for everybody here at Houston. I'm sorry it's so late, but, boy, it's been great for everybody. Great week.
An exciting day, hadn't it?
It's been a good couple of weeks, Big. I tell you, it's been a long last year was tough. It was hard all year for us, but the guys never quit. They stayed after it, and you just have to get it together. It's tough to do sometimes, but the last 2 weeks have sure made those guys feel good. I'm proud of them and proud for everything. But that's what we're here for. We love it. We love the fans. We love drag racing. That's what it is all about, and that's what we love. Thank you, Big.
Kenny Bernstein with a big lead in the Winston points chase. Second is Don Prudhomme. Hawley is third. Frank Bradley is fourth. And Joe Amato, number 5.
Winner. Now you get the check ready.
And the jubilation continues at the far end of the racetrack, while here at the starting line, it is time for the finals in Funny Car Eliminator. Once again, Ed McCulloch and John Force square off in the championship round. Last season, John Force prevailed over McCulloch to take the Winston Championship and the $150,000 share of the Winston $1 million cash bonus at the end of the year. McCulloch knows if he has any chance at all of winning the title, he's got to make a strong showing in the early part of the season. And he can only hope that the problems they experienced in the Final Four, slowing to a 540, have been solved by Bernie Fennerly as crew chief for this round. Earlier, Don had a chance to talk to Bernie.
Shades of 1990, Ed the Ace McCulloch versus John Brute Force. Bernie, you and I have been around long enough to know that 540 don't beat 522 in this day and age. Have you got an ace up your sleeve for the old Ed?
Well, I do believe we have a play where we're kind of grasping a little bit. We had a major problem on the starting line that time when Ed pulled on the high fuel valve. The engine started loping real bad, and it was down around 1,400 RPM when he hit the throttle. As a result, it dropped the cylinder. The thing about stalled when he hit the throttle, and it was just totally out of sync. And then he gone down course and finally got underway and started spinning the tires real bad near the lights. So we had a combination of problems, and it cost us well in excess of 1/10 of a second. So I believe that if we can pick that up, I think we should be right in the hunt. I don't, I think we're certainly shooting to run a mid 520, and if that'll do it, well, we're going to try and press a little harder than that even. But if a 525 will do it, I think we have a good chance.
Well, John is over there. He feels that 22 is going to handle this situation. He's run a 21, so he may be in for a little surprise.
Oh, we're going to try and keep him honest. Right now we're struggling a little, but I think we got a few plays.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Bernie Federle is soft-spoken as ever, but certainly one of the most intelligent crew chiefs in this sport today. Much the same could be said for John Force's crew chief, Austin Coyle. He learned his craft as the owner and resident genius behind the Baytown Hustler. McCulloch in the far lane, Force in the opposite lane. They're staging for the championship. And something goes wrong on McCulloch's car. John Force, in 3 final round appearances this season, has come home the champion twice. His elapsed time, 5:21 at 278 miles an hour. While McCulloch having engine problems at mid-course, it appeared to be a backfire through the supercharger, and that brought his championship hopes to an end. He did his job, though. He had nearly 5/100ths of a second head start over John Force off the line. Down at the far end of the racetrack, Don Garlits with your champion, John Force.
John, you one tough cookie, and you couple that with the genius of Austin Coyle, 5:21 again. You're going to be hard to handle this year.
Donna, I'm really proud of these guys because I've rode them hard. And Coyle, he's just an old match race guy from way back, but he's one of the best. And I love these guys dearly, and they worked hard. And when I fall down, they stick right behind me. I was slow today on the lights. I don't know how I did, but I know McCullough's car was out, and I drove around him. And I've had a long weekend. I've been tired, and just to see the car produce like it did, I'm very excited for him.
It's something else. 21, 22, 21. That is tough racing.
Well, Coyle told me the Chi-Town, he had one piston, and Castro, Jolly Rancher, Oldsmobile, the Wax Shop, all the people that have supported this car, whatever it takes, they helped me put into it. But along with this money from Winston and Budweiser that we're winning along the roads, really making it easy. I'm exhausted. I want to say I love my wife and my kids. I'm coming home. I've had enough.
Well, we've all enjoyed it, John. Have a nice day.
Enjoyed being here. Thank you.
Don, he's certainly earned it. He's got the lead in the Winston points chase. McCulloch second, Jim White third, Glenn Mickelson fourth, and Mike Dunn is number 5. For Don Garlits, I'm Dave McClellan saying so long from Houston. The 1991 NHRA Fram Supernationals has been brought to you by Budweiser, the king of beers, who reminds you friends know when to say when. And by Autolite Spark Plugs, the only plugs guaranteed for 2 years, no matter how far you go. Coverage of the NHRA Supernationals has been a presentation of Diamond P Sports in association with ESPN.